welcome back to my channel. So, if you're new to my channel today, then I would recommend you to not watch this video as your first video, because it is part of a series that I have started on this channel. So, what this video is me reading some chapters out of this Natalie Babbitt book, which is titled Doug Everlasting. So, in previous videos, I have read chapters 1, 2, and 3 in the first video, and chapters 4, 5, and 6 in the second video. So today, what I am going to do is read chapters 7, 8, and 9, and then so on after that. So, I am going to do this entire book slowly and release the videos slowly as well. So, if you're interested in that, subscribe to my channel and turn on your bell notification so that you're notified every time I upload to this channel. During this video, I'm going to have some hand visuals for you guys so that you have something to look at other than my face while I'm reading. So I hope you all enjoy. And I'm going to go ahead and get into it. Chapter 7. It was the strangest story Winnie had ever heard. She was soon suspected that they had never told it before, except to each other. That was their first real audience. She was their first real audience, for they gathered around her like children at their mother's knee, each trying to claim her attention, and sometimes they all talked at once and interrupted each other in their eagerness. 87 years before, the Ducks had come from a very long way to the east, looking for a place to settle. In those days, the wood was not a wood. It was a forest, just as our grandmother had said. A forest that went on and on and on. They had thought they would start a farm as soon as they came to the end of the trees. But the trees never seemed to end. And when they came to the part that was now the wood, they turned from the trail to find a camping place. Excuse me. When they came to the part of the wood that was now the wood, and turned onto the trail to find a camping place, they happened on the spring. It was real nice, said Jessie with a sigh. It looked just like the way it does now. A clearing, lots of sunshine, that big tree with all those knobby roots. We stopped and everyone took a drink, even the horse. No, said May. The cat didn't drink. That's important. Yes, said Miles. We don't leave that out. We all had a drink except for the cat. Well, anyway, Jessie went on, the water tasted sort of strange, but we camped there overnight. And Pa carved a D on the tree trunk to mark where we'd been, and then we went on. They had come out of the forest at last, many miles to the west, had found a thinly populated valley, and started their farm. We put up a house for Ma and Pa, said Miles, and a little shack for Jessie and me, but we figured we'd be starting families of our own pretty soon and would want our own houses. That was the first time we figured there was something peculiar, said May. Jessie fell out of a tree. I was way up in the middle, Jessie interrupted, trying to saw off some of the big branches before we cut her down. I lost my balance and fell. He landed plumb on his head, said May with a shudder. We thought for sure he'd broke his neck, but come to find out, it didn't hurt him at all. Not long after, Miles went on. Some hunters come by one day at sunset. horse was out grazing by some trees and they shot him. Mistake him for a deer, they said. Can you fancy that? But the thing is, they didn't kill him. The bullet went right on through him and didn't hardly even leave a mark. Then Pa got a snake bite, and Jesse ate the poisoned toadstools. And I cut myself, said May, remember, slicing the bread. But it was the passage of time that worried them most. They had worked the farm, settled down, made friends, but after 10 years, then 20, they had to face the fact that there was something terribly wrong. None of them was getting any older. I wasn't more than 40 by then, said Miles sadly. I was married. I had 2 children, but from the look of me, I was still 22. My wife, she finally made up her mind I sold my soul to the devil. She left me. She went away and took the children with her. I'm glad I never got married, Jessie put in. It was the same for our friends, said May. They come to pull back from us. There was talk about witchcraft, black magic. Well, you can't hardly blame them. But finally, we had to leave the farm. We didn't know where to go. We started back the way we came, just wandering. We was like gypsies. When we got this far, it had changed, of course. A lot of the trees were gone. There was people in Tree Gap. It was a new village. The road was here, but in those days it was mostly just a cow path. We went on into what was left of the wood to make a camp, and we got to the clearing in the tree and the spring. We remembered it from before. It hadn't changed no more than we'd had, said Miles, and that was how we found out. Pa had carved a T on the tree, remember, 20 years before, but the T was still where it'd been when he done it. That tree hadn't gone out of wood in all that time. It was exactly the same, and the T he carved was as fresh as if it had just been put there. Then they had remembered drinking the water, they and the horse, but not the cat. The cat had lived a long and happy life on the farm, but had died some 10 years before. So they decided at last that the source of their changelessness was the spring. When we came to that conclusion, May went on. Doug said that my husband Angus Duck. He said he had to be sure, once and for all. He took his shotgun. He pointed it at himself the best way he could, and before we could stop him, he pulled the trigger. There was a long pause. May's fingers laced together in her lap, twisted with the tension of remembering. At last, she said the shot knocked him down, went into his heart. It had to, the way he aimed. And right on through him. It scarcely even left a mark. Just like, like the shot a bullet through the water. And he was just the same as if he'd never done it. After that, we went sort of crazy, said Jessie, grinning at the memory. Heck, we was going to live forever. Can you picture what it'd feel like to find that out? But then we sat down and talked it over, said Miles. We're still talking it over, Jessie added. And we figured it'd be very bad if everyone knowed about that spring, said May. We began to see what it would mean. She peered at Winnie. Do you understand, child? That water, it stops you right where you are. If you'd had a drink of it today, you'd stay a little girl forever. You never grew up, not never. We don't know how it works, or even why, said Miles. Pa thinks it's something left over from some other plan for the way the world should be, said Jessie. Some plan that didn't work too good. And so everything was changed, except the spring was passed over somehow or other. Maybe he's right, I don't know. But you see, Winnie Foster, when I told you before I'm 104 years old, I was telling the truth, but I'm not really, only 17. And so far as I know, I'll stay 17 until the end of the world. Chapter 8. Winnie did not believe in fairy tales. She had never longed for a magic wand, did not expect to marry a prince, and was scornful most of the time of her grandmother's elves. So now she sat, mouth open, wide-eyed, not knowing what to make of this extraordinary story. It couldn't, not a bit of it, be true. And yet, it feels so fine to tell somebody, Jessie exploded. Just think, Winnie Foster, you're the only only person in the world besides us who knows about it. Hold on now, Miles said cautiously. Maybe not. There might be a whole lot of others, for all we know, wandering around just like us. Maybe, but we don't know them, Jessie pointed out. We've never had anyone but us to talk about it to, Winnie. Isn't it peculiar? Peculiar. And kind of wonderful. Just think of all the things we've seen in the world, all the things we're going to see. That kind of talk will make her want to rush back and drink a gallon of the stuff, warned Miles. There's a whole lot more to it than Jessie Duck's good times, you know. Oh, stuff, said Jessie with a shrug. We might as well enjoy it, long as we can't change it. You don't have to be such a parson all the time. I'm not being a parson, said Miles. I just think you ought to take it more serious. Now, boys, said May. She was kneeling by the stream, splashing her face and hands with cool water. Woo, such weather, she exclaimed, sitting back on her heels. She unfastened the brooch, took off her shawl, and toweled her dripping face. Well, child, she said to Winnie, standing up, now you share a secret. It's a big, dangerous secret. We got to have your help to keep it. I expect you're full of questions, but we can't stay any longer. She tied the shawl around her waist then and sighed. It pains me to think your mom and pa will worry, but there's just no way around it. We got to take you home with us. That's the plan. Duck, he'll want to talk it out. Make sure you see why you can't tell no one. But we'll bring you back tomorrow, all right? And all three of them looked at her hopefully. All right, said Winnie. For she decided there wasn't any choice. She would have to go. They would probably make her go anyway, no matter what she said. But she felt that there was nothing to be afraid of. Not really, for they seemed gentle, and in a strange way, childlike. They made her feel old, and the way they spoke to her, the way they looked at her, made her feel special, important. It wasn't a warm, spreading feeling entirely new. She liked it, and in spite of their story, she liked them too, especially Jessie. But it was Miles who took her hand and said, It's really fine to have you along, even if it's only for a day or two. Then Jessie gave a great whoop and leapt into the stream, splashing mightily. What did you bring for breakfast, Ma? He cried. We can eat on the way, can't we? I'm starving. So with the sun riding high now in the sky, they started off again, noisy in the August stillness, eating bread and cheese. Jessie sang funny old songs in a loud voice and swung like a monkey from the branches of trees, showing off shamelessly for Winnie, calling to her, Hey, Winnie Foster, watch me and look what I can do. And and Winnie, laughing at him, lost the last of her alarm. They were friends, her friends. She was running away after all, but she was not alone. Closing the gate on her oldest fears, as she had closed the gate of her own French yard, she discovered the wings she'd always wished she'd had, and all at once she was elated. Where were the terrors she'd been told she should expect? She could not recognize them anywhere. The sweet earth opened out its wide four corners to her like the petals of a flower ready to be picked, and it shimmered with light and possibility till she was dizzy about it. Her mother's voice, the feel of home, receded for the moment, and her thoughts turned forward. Why she too might live forever in this remarkable world she was only just discovering. The story of the spring, it might be true, so that when she was not rolling along in the back of that fat old horse, by choice this time, she ran shouting down the road, her arms flung out, making more noise than anybody. It was good, so good in fact that through it all, not one of them noticed that the man they had passed on the road, the man in the yellow suit, had crept up to the bushes by the stream and heard it all, and the whole fantastic story. Nor did they notice that he was following now, beside the road far behind his mouth, but the thin gray beard turned ever so slightly toward a smile. Chapter 9. The August sun rolled up, hung out mid-heaven for a blinding hour, and at last wheeled westward before the journey was done. But Winnie was exhausted long before that. Miles carried her some of the way. The tops of her cheeks were pink with sunburn, her nose a vivid comic red. But she had been rescued from a more serious brawling by May, who had finally insisted that she wear the blue straw hat. It came down far over her ears and gave her a clownish appearance, but the shade from its brown was so welcome that Winnie put vanity aside and dozed gratefully in Miles's strong arms. Her own arms wound around his neck. The pastures, the fields, and scrubby groves they crossed were vigorous with bees, and crickets leapt before them as if each step released a spring and flung them up like pebbles. But everything else was motionless, dry as biscuits on the brink of burning, hoarding final reservoirs of sap, trying to hold out till the rain returned, and Queen Anne's lace lay dusty in the surface of the meadows like foam on a painted sea. It was amazing, then, to climb a long hill, to see ahead another hill, and beyond that the deep green of a scattered pine forest as you climbed to feel the air ease and soften. Winnie revived, sniffling, and was able to ride the horse again, perched behind May. And to her oft-repeated question, "Are we almost there?" the welcome answer came at last. Only a few more minutes now. A wide stand of dark pines rose up, loomed nearer, and suddenly Jessie was crying, "We're home! This is it, Winnie Foster!" And again Miles raced on and disappeared among the trees. The horse followed, turning into a rutted path lumpy with roots, and it was as if they had slipped in under a giant colander. The late sun's brilliance could penetrate only in scattered glimmers, and everything was silent and untouched. The ground muffled with moss and sliding needles, the graceful arm of the pine stretched out protectively in every direction, and it was cool, breathlessly cool and green. The horse picked his way carefully, and then had the path drop down a steep embankment. And beyond that, Winnie, peering around May's bulk, saw a flash of color and a dazzling sparkle. Down the embankment they swayed, and there was a plain, homely little house, barn red, and below it was the last sun flashing on the wrinkled surface of a tiny lake. "Oh, look!" cried Winnie. "Water!" At the same time, they heard two enormous splashes, two voices roaring with pleasure. "It don't take more than a minute to pile into that pond," said May, beaming. "Well, you can't blame Winnie like this. You can go in too if you want." Then they were at the door of the little house, and Tuck was standing there. "Where's the child?" he demanded, for Winnie was hidden behind his wife. "The boys say you brought along a real, honest-to-goodness, natural child." "So I did," said May, sliding down off the horse, "and here she is." Winnie's shyness returned at once when she saw the big man with his fat face and baggy trousers. But as he gazed at her, the warm, pleasing feeling spread through her again. For Tuck's head tilted to one side, his eyes went soft, and the gentlest smile in the world displaced the melancholy creases of his cheeks. He reached up to lift her from the horse's back and said, "There's just no words to tell you how happy I am to see you. It's the finest thing that's happened, and..." He interrupted himself, setting Winnie on the ground, and turned to May. "Does she know?" "Of course she knows," said May. "That's why I brought her here. Winnie, here's my husband, Angus Tuck. Tuck, meet Winnie Foster." "How do, Winnie Foster," said Tuck, shaking Winnie's hand rather solemnly. "Well then," he straightened and peered down at her, and Winnie, looking back into his face, saw an expression there that made her feel like an unexpected present, wrapped in pretty paper and tied with ribbon, and in spite of May's blue hat, which still enveloped her head. "Well then," Tuck repeated, seeing you know, I'll go on and say that this is the finest thing that's happened in, at least 80 years. Okay, everybody. So that is going to be all for this video. enjoyed those 3 chapters. If you did, give this video a thumbs up. And if you have any predictions for what is going to happen next in this book, in the coming up chapters, leave it down in the comments.